Driving Performance. I'm your host, Tom Shea, the co-founder of Agile Media Group, and I'm joined by two of the most badass female founders today, Sandra Velasquez and Amy Liu. Sandra is the founder of Nopalera, a Mexican Botanicals for body and bath that celebrates and elevates Latina culture. The brand takes its inspiration from the nopal, the prickly pear cactus, an ancient symbol of Mexican culture for its resilience and versatility. Nopalera is leading the Brownspace Opportunity with its iconic culture-forward branding that speaks to the overlooked Latina clean beauty consumer. And Amy is the founder of Tower28, a clean beauty brand designed for sensitive skin and made for all. Created with hints of nostalgia, products are bold, playful, and accessible, with a message that it's okay to be sensitive. Tower28 is the first and only brand to adhere to the National Eczema Association's ingredient guidelines. That means 0% irritating ingredients, 100% safe for the sensitive skin, so clean, vegan, and rigorously dermatologist-tested. Ladies, welcome to Driving Performance.
Thanks for having.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
So I start this off asking the same question of everyone, because a lot of people are going to be listening on audio. What the hell is going on right now? How would you describe this to the audio listeners?
We're parked in a truck in Chelsea in the rain.
Yes.
Yeah, starting to steam up in the background, as I see. But
Yeah.
Not the best weather, but okay. So
In a very small.
yeah, it's sort of like a New York City apartment. So at least it's on brand. But Sandra, Amy, you guys know each other, obviously. I sort of wanted to just start with how you guys know each other. And I know there's a story with the Clean Beauty Summer School that Tower28 runs, but what's the, how'd you guys meet?
I think you should tell that story. You created this amazing opportunity.
Tower28 has an accelerator program, and it's called Clean Beauty Summer School. Clean Beauty Summer School, we've done 3 sessions so far. This will be our 4th year, and the idea is that we take every year a class of 10 BIPOC beauty founders, and we take them through a combination of courses. So we teach classes, give them mentors, and at the end of it we do a pitch day. And Sandra was a winner of Clean Beauty Summer School's 3rd season.
Yeah, and
so,
what was that experience like for you, Sandra?
Well, I will say that I'm like an accelerator hoe, so I've been in many accelerators, and Amy's is very special because it's founder driven.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that Amy, who has all of this amazing like industry experience and like knows a lot of people in the beauty industry, pulled all of her amazing friends together, got them to teach classes.
Yeah.
And like that is what makes Clean Beauty Summer School radically different and like so awesome compared to other accelerators or that are run by people that are not in the trenches.
Yeah.
Right.
Amy's in the trenches, like she's on tour right now supporting her brand, right?
Yeah.
And so are her friends. And so
28 days, 28 spots?
28 stores.
28
Yes.
Oh my God, is that on
Sephora's.
purpose? Is it because it's Tower28? Is that why you're on it?
You got it.
I did. Oh my God! I just got that.
I also didn't get it.
Okay, thank you. I just got that. But that's what makes Clean Beauty Summer School so amazing.
Right.
Because as founders, we want to hear like the truth.
Right.
Like tell us
Yeah.
what's really happening. Tell us how it's how it really goes. Like tell us. I want to hear like in the trenches, like
Right.
all the failures. Like that's the stuff that's so valuable that we can learn from instead of just kind of like overview, high level, like legal 101, retail 101. Like no, tell us what the buyer said.
Operators not like talking.
Tell us what
heads,
software to use.
yeah,
Tell
right.
us what you use. So that's why Clean Beauty Summer School is so awesome.
Cool. And we're definitely going to dive into that a bit more, but I wanted to quickly start sort of laying the guidelines of how this show is going to play out. So obviously we are in a truck. There's a few stops along this route, and I'm going to tell you what those stops are. Stop 1 is going to be the origin story, so how you guys came to be, what developed you from an early age into being brand founders today. Stop 2 is going to be some brand specific questions that are unique, I think, specifically to your experiences building your respective organizations. Stop 3 is going to be brand intersection questions where we'll talk about the Clean Beauty Summer School once more. And then stop 4 is a segment we call the hot box, and I'll leave that.
Is it going to get warmer?
Starting to steam up already. And then stop 5 is quite literally the end, and we'll wrap there. So,
Yay.
Sounds good.
You guys ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right, stop 1, and we'll start with Amy. Amy, you've had such an interesting origin story, and you started your brand a little bit later in life, but it was formed by so many unique experiences that you had sort of in the industry, and that's a little bit different than yours, where I felt like, Sandra, you had
I'm like,
very few
what
of
am I
those
doing?
experiences. So let's start with Amy. Amy, can you take us back to, let's go all the way back to, some of those conversations when you had gone into, I think, freelance, and you were raising kids, and you're like, just looking for something to start, and how that all came together.
So I'm still raising kids.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. And like you mentioned, I've worked in the beauty industry this is my 20th year working in the beauty industry. So it's pretty much the only career I've really had.
Right.
I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur though. And I kind of told myself this whole story about how I was going to work for other people and I was going to learn on someone else's dime and one day I would do it. And I think the thing is when you're working and having kids and building your life, it's hard to at some point like make that decision and make that leap and say like, okay, I'm just going to go do it. And frankly, I didn't know I could, right? I think like at the time, so I raised money 5 years ago, we launched 4 years ago. And at the time, you know, Glossier had raised money away. Like there were women who had done it, but I didn't see myself in that. I didn't think it was possible for me. I didn't have those kind of connections. I didn't know how it worked. It was really, I don't know, intimidating to me. But it was something I always wanted to do. So even longer than I've had a career in beauty, I've had eczema. And one of the things I was always looking for as a person was for products that were not only clean, but also safe for sensitive skin. And the reason I wanted clean is because when you have an inflammatory issue like eczema, your skin barrier is compromised. And so then you hear these things about how 70% of what you put on your skin goes into your bloodstream. And I was like, well, for me, if my skin's broken, not only is it going in, but is it actually making my skin worse? When I made the switch to clean beauty, I actually found a lot of those ingredients really sensitizing because they have essential oils in them, which essential oils I am not demonizing, but it depends on which essential oils and what your skin type is like. And then when I tried looking for products that were safe for sensitive skin, a lot of those products I really found were, I don't know, kind of either boring or clinical and definitely not necessarily clean. So I really saw that there was a white space based on my own need. And frankly, I probably wouldn't have taken the leap, except that I had a friend who sat me down and was like, shit or get off the pot. You're getting older. If you don't do it now, you probably won't ever do it, which I actually think was right.
Yeah, and I love that story. So can you take us into, it was one of your friends who was like, essentially called your bluff.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, like, you tell the story. Obviously, you can tell it better.
So we went to business school together. His name is Charles. He became my lead
investor.
Shout out Charles. We went to business school together. We were not best friends. We were co-presidents of the Entrepreneurship Venture Management Association. And we had always kind of stayed in touch professionally. So when he was doing something, he would like tell me about it. He's like, do you want to come over? And very different. He had a SaaS company and he started it right after business school where I went to go work for other people. I didn't know he had sold his company. And we went for coffee and I was talking to him about what I wanted to do. And I was like, listen, I want something where I have upside. I want equity. I want, you know, a seat at the table. I want this. And he was like, you've been saying you've wanted to do this for so long. Why don't you do it? And I was like, I don't have money and I don't have a partner, so I can't do it. I have to go work for someone. And he was like, well, if you have money, you can go hire people. I was like, still don't have money. We had just, I mean, LA's expensive. We bought our first house when I was 39. So and I had kids and everything else. I just felt like we couldn't do it. And he essentially, you know, gave me that lifeline where he was like, I'll give you half of whatever you think you need. And at the time I said, I think I need $250,000 because I had written a business plan actually for another founder. And because I was consulting, and that was what she thought she needed, and that's what she was planning on raising. And he's like, if you think you need 250, you need 500, I'll give you 250 if you can raise the other 250 in 30 days.
And then did you go back to that founder and be like, hey, by the way, I just got told we need to double 250?
I did. She ended up raising quite a bit more than that.
Wow.
So
Cool.
She did. But that's kind of how it started. And frankly, like the next 30 days, it was so good for me because I don't think I would have known how to go ask for money. But it was because I was given this, it almost gamified it, right? So I could, and he said, which I think is one of the best things he told me, he's like, don't take my word for it. Take this and go get advice. Like, go walk this around to friends. Because he gave me a valuation. He gave me terms. Like, I didn't know anything about raising money. And because there was something to almost, he was a lead investor, right? There were terms already, and I could walk them around, and people could be like, okay, I'm in. Or they would tell me, like, go talk to somebody else or refer me. And I had coworkers who were like, we'll come in together, or my brother and I will. And all of a sudden, having this timeline, I think, was actually really good for me because I was like, I could say to people, I have a due date. Are you in or not?
It's like when you're raising, you're like trying to create urgency.
Yeah,
you know.
But I wasn't trying. I had real
you literally
urgency.
had urgency.
Use it or lose it.
I really did have urgency, and he had essentially he was trying to roll over. I think it's called a 1031, right? When you sell a company, you can take equity and invest.
Right.
Kind of like a house, you can do that. So he had urgency for his own reasons, and. Yeah, I was able to raise some money, and here we are today. So I've raised twice. I've raised $1 million in total.
Okay, awesome. And then you have a great story about like pre-Tower28 early day career of just breaking into the industry. I'd love if you could just talk about some of those early formidable experiences of, people weren't recruiting from your school. You went to USC for business school, right?
Yeah.
And sort of how you forced your way into the industry.
I mean, I'd actually be interested to hear what Sandra thinks about the beauty industry now, because I think it's changed a lot. But early days in my career, the beauty industry was really insular. The way I think fashion kind of is too, where it's like if you're not already in the industry, they don't really want you. And back in the day, even an MBA was like not really. I don't know, that's not the way people recruited. It was very much like you start at the bottom and you kind of move up, and I don't know how you get a job to start in the beginning because
it's so
you know like someone
or something.
It was not so easy to do. So it felt very hard.
Right.
I went to business school in an effort to change my career. So I came out of college and I was working at Accenture in consulting, and I was like, I really don't want to do this. I want to go back and figure it out. So I went to USC. When I was at USC, I went to my career counselor and I said, I read all these books and I was like, what do I really want to do? I was doing what I called my quarter life crisis at the time. And I was like, what I really want to do is work in the beauty industry, but I didn't know how to do it. And so the schools didn't come and no one came to recruit at my school. There was no easy way to get there. Fight on. And so I thought, okay, well, do you know who Julie is? Julie Wong from Olaplex?
No, I don't.
She's the CEO of Olaplex. Do you know Julie?
Yeah, you brought her for beauty summer school.
Julie's the greatest. So Julie actually was the first person who, shout out to mentors, because I know we have a lot.
Yeah.
I interviewed with her when I was in business school, and she was at Myriad, and she was like, listen, I'll give you an internship. But actually, what you should do is you should go interview for like L'Oreal and Estee Lauder and get that on your resume.
Right.
If you can't get it, come back here and I'll give you an internship. But try to get a big name brand on your resume and get that experience. And I was so grateful for that because she gave me like
confidence too.
And like a soft landing because you're like, okay, well, I can go try because I've got this in the bag over here.
Like, let's just start throwing them.
And I FedExed my resume. So this is all true story. I FedExed my resume to like literally, I got all the addresses and I FedExed my resume to all these different people. And then obviously nothing happens. No one calls me. I called and I would talk to like the assistant of like the president or whoever it was. And they'd be like, did you get the FedEx?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, yes. Because I wasn't writing to the HR team. I was writing to like people I really shouldn't have been. And they would say like, yes. And I was like, well, I'm coming to LA. I'd really like to meet, Carol Hamilton, who was like somebody I really shouldn't have been trying to meet.
Right.
And they would say, yeah, actually, okay, so you're coming. And they would, for whatever reason, they would make an appointment for me.
Totally.
And I was like, I'm going to be there. So I came to New York and I was going up and down the different floors interviewing, and I would show up and they would say, yeah, you do have time on the calendar. So they would feel bad, but they would be like, Carol Hamilton is definitely not going to talk to you, but let me see if I can find someone.
Right.
And so I was doing that. And then finally someone said to me, I was in an interview and they took a call and they were like, yes. She's like, are you interviewing at other places here? I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing everywhere. Like, literally every single brand
Everyone
you have.
has my resume in here.
Yeah. Well, because L'Oreal has, like, Maybelline on one floor.
Right.
Every single
Family
floor
brands,
is a different brand. And they were like, forget it. You can go home. We'll give you a job. Stop it.
Admired the scrappiness.
But to your point, like, I think part of it was, I think whether it was raising money or if you're talking about trying to break into the beauty industry in the first place, I think there's a bit of it where it's really intimidating. And part of what I'd like to be doing with Clean Beauty Summer School is providing access and creating an opportunity to like share that, because I think it can be both intimidating and also like it's not super open. Like now you can do things like go to business school, or they have recruiting programs where L'Oreal and Estee Lauder and those people do. But especially if you're talking about indie brands, we don't have that same level of, I don't have a recruiting team, who's going out there. And I've even found it for myself to recruit people. We really believe in diversity, but part of it is a pipeline problem too. Like we need to give people the access and information.
Yeah, and I wish it was more accessible. I have a funny analog story of someone we hired, and it reminds me a lot of your story, where we were interviewing her, and she was like, yeah, like my style is I will go into an advertising agency and say like I need to use the bathroom, or like it's an emergency, like, and anyone sitting there's like, okay, like go ahead, and then she's in the office, and then she's just like, hi, like nice to meet you, like can you show me to so and so, I have a meeting, and then like would do some of that those incredible scrappy stuff, because to your point, obviously it's a much different context. But
I actually feel like it's so much harder now than it was even back then, because I think now LinkedIn, like I don't know if I'm sure when you post things, like you get so much incoming, that I mean, when I was looking for a job, I felt like I was competing with like maybe the people who were in the geographical area, or the who's who, that everybody knew each other. But now like everyone in the whole world can interview for a job. It's very confusing.
So Sandra, I want to turn over to you now. While Amy has a very storied history in the industry, yours is one of the most unique, and I think you'll see, like, it did probably prime you, like this need to be a performer, and set you up for some of this. But we start with Pistolera.
Yeah, so I used to be the lead singer of a band, so no beauty industry experience whatsoever. I would write songs. I've played all over New York. I've played Central Park, Celebrate Brooklyn, Town Hall. Like, I thought I was put on earth to write songs.
We got Breaking Bread, Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, I've been on, like my music has been on lots of TV shows and stuff. But music is tough. I mean, all industries I think have changed. I used to sell compact discs at my concerts. Do you guys remember compact discs? Okay, like in plastic. Okay, I would like sign, like autograph them, like take the cellophane off. Had no one in my family was an entrepreneur. Like, had no like inclination that I would be running a beauty brand. Like, if you had told me that 20 years ago, I'd be like, this psychic doesn't know what they're talking about, you know. Yeah. But you know, music is tough. You know, it's like the income is like this. It's like you're like in the trenches recording, so
feast
like
or famine.
Yeah, and then you go on tour, then you make money, and then you don't make money, you know. So I always had a day job in New York, you know. So I used to work for health insurance, and also just because you need to have like 5 jobs when you live here, you know, Tom, right?
We're renting out this studio. We already talked about
this is where we live now. I'm just gonna move into the truck.
Apartment.
Yeah, this is a nice couch.
Yeah,
it's nicer than my couch. And so I used to work at Barnard College, so I was like a college administrator. So that was like my
easy. You really have had lots of lives.
Yes, I mean I'm 46, so I used to take 3 trains every day to the Upper West Side. I've always lived in Brooklyn, and that was like my easy, day job, because then I needed my energy, my creative brain, like to make music and everything. And I was on the school schedule, right? Like you have kids, so we know like we have summers off and we had spring break, so that's when I would tour. So like I did that for like 18 years, But then I fell into CPG by accident. That's a whole other story for another like TED Talk someday. and that's where I really gained a lot of experience, like in the trenches of like, that's where I learned like margins and branding and like marketing and just like understanding all of that. And CPG is like super cutthroat. I mean, like, we're in front of Whole Foods right now. It's like how many beverages, how many protein bars. Totally.
Do you think the beauty industry is less cutthroat?
I think I think it's nicer. Yeah, CPG is mostly male. It's a different vibe. It's very antiquated, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, long story short, I found myself unemployed at the age of 43, and I was like, great, I'm 43, I have a child, I have no savings, I have $86,000 of student loan debt, I have credit card debt. Like, how did I get to this place? Like, how is this my life now? Like, this is kind of embarrassing, like, and if I'm going to change it, it's not going to be because I'm going to go work for like another CPG brand. It's not going to be like getting another like college job that, that's not paying me enough to save, to like build, a college fund for my child. So I was like, I'm gonna have to build something, and it was a really scary moment. But I was like, actually grateful for that moment, because I would have never done it if I had not been pushed.
Were you also doing this during COVID too?
I launched during COVID.
You launched during COVID.
Yeah, when I had the idea,
which is
it wasn't
even
COVID
crazier.
yet. Yeah. So it wasn't. I didn't have the idea during COVID. I had the idea. It came to me in 2019. That's when I was unemployed, and I was standing there at my parents' house, like looking at their cactus plant in their front yard, like everyone has in California. And I was like, how come no one's built a beauty brand around this plant? And how come also there's no like nice beautiful like luxury Latina beauty brands.
Right.
You know, because it's so Eurocentric. It's like, it's, you know, L'Occitane and Givenchy and Chanel. Everything is like, we've always been taught to like aspire to like Western Europe, you know?
Right.
And if it's like Latino, people associate that with value, right? It's like, why is it lower cost, lower price? And I'm like, it's time to like change that. And as a musician, I always celebrated culture. So Pistolera, I sang in Spanish, it was Latin rock, right? So I just transferred the mission over to a product instead of like music, right? So, but I had no industry experience whatsoever. I was like, how do I get products made? How do I find ingredients? How do I do anything? So I got served an ad, thank you Facebook, because I was like searching for ingredients or like manufacturers, and got served an ad for Formula Botanica, which is a formulation school based in the UK.
Sure wasn't on a truck? Just want to
And enrolled in formulation school on my Amex, and studied formulation for 9 months. And then, you know, called my designer. Luckily, I did have a great relationship with the designer back from when I worked at CPG. And I was like, Abby, you need to design my brand. Here's what it is. It's a high-end Latina brand. It needs to be bold, colorful. It's going to be in Spanish. Like, built a whole brand deck around it. I didn't have money to pay for branding either. So I was like, can we do a payment plan?
Yeah.
And also, can we spread it out over 5 months? And can I also pay you with my Amex? So
I mean,
everything was on a payment plan.
You put everything on your credit card, which is like so different from what I did, and I have so much respect for it in the same way, though. Like it is.
I felt like I didn't have a choice.
I'm sure, but I know, but like it's just a different, like you have to mentally, you have to be able to digest it differently.
Right.
Totally. And because I've just had so much debt my whole life, I was like, what's another 10 grand on my credit card? You know, I mean, I already have $80,000 of student loan debt. I already have, you know, credit card debt. So then I just went into like full like work beast mode. I was like, I got 3 jobs. I started working for Van Leeuwen Ice Cream. I started CPG consulting at night. And I was working for High Bar. So I was like sales rep, like in the trenches.
Shout out High Bar.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so I had like 1 job to pay rent, 1 job to pay off debt, and like 1 job to fund my brand. And it's like, that's how I looked at it. And I was like, this is going to suck.
And raising a child.
And raising a child. And raising a child. And raising a child. And that's just what I did. I was like, this is, you know, when you know it's going to be temporary, like you can do anything, you know.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't going to like work 3 jobs and like be formulating at night forever.
Well, you do also what you have to do.
Yeah. I was like, what other choice do I have? I have no other like professional skills. I didn't go to business school. I was like, I can write songs, but it's not going to change my life anymore. So anyway, that's the story.
And so there's a lot of like family and culture built into the Nopalera brand. Can you sort of take us through those roles and the influence that has sort of inspired the brand and potentially the band as well?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that my parents, who are Mexican, have always really been proud of who they are. Yeah. And so they forced me to speak Spanish. Like everything that they forced me to do as a child, like take piano lessons, speak Spanish, like I've made that my career. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a brand that celebrates our culture, you know. I played music, you know, for a living. So I just really, like, I feel like they passed down that confidence to me. I honestly can't take credit for it because I have a very, very strong, like, badass mother who came as an immigrant, you know, as an adult, spoke no English, put herself through college, became an immigration lawyer, and now she's like an immigration expert, always like on Univision. Wow. She's in the Women's Hall of Fame in San Diego.
Oh my gosh.
And she's still alive, you know? So having like a super badass mother obviously has impacted my life, you know?
Yeah.
And now as a mother myself, I mean, Amy is a mom too. Like, totally. I feel like one of the biggest gifts we can give our child is self-esteem and confidence.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
and I think more role modeling it too.
Role modeling it too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, you mean to tell me that I can integrate my shop with you in less than a minute? You store all my inventory across your 50 plus fulfillment centers in the US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Australia, and then fulfill all of my orders globally with over a 99% order accuracy rate?
That's right. We do that for over 7,000 brands today.
And you can do that for all my D2C, B2B, and Amazon orders?
Yep.
And when my next TikTok video goes viral, or during the holiday rush, you can grow with me forever?
Yes, again.
Dang, that's the ship, Bob.
Check out ShipBob at shipbob.com to unlock your fulfillment provider that acts as your personal chief supply chain officer.
All right, so we're getting to stop 2 here. So we're going to get into some brand-specific questions. Sandra, we're going to start with you. I think, gotta talk Shark Tank. Can't not talk Shark Tank.
So cool.
And so I think, you know, when I thought of what the audience would be interested in is just really like the behind-the-scenes elements of it all. So I've learned a lot from you about how like it's filmed for much longer than it actually is. It's shot sometimes a year in advance. Not everyone gets aired. So can you sort of just like unpack what the experience was for you, and also like all those things that are non-obvious to people who you're just tuning in on a daily basis?
Yeah, so everything you just said. I applied, I think like in February. I filmed in July, and then it aired.
Oh, that's fast.
In like, is it?
February and then July?
February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah.
I mean,
so.
I don't know.
But then it didn't air.
We have no frame of reference.
I don't know I have a frame of reference, but.
And then it aired in
the
January.
Accelerated, the Clean Beauty School. It was a much quicker turnaround.
Yeah.
Who was it? Sandra? Shout out to who's the?
Oh, Shoda?
Shoda.
Yeah.
Shoda. Shout out to Shoda for keeping that running a whistle.
Yes, but I guess like from end to end, right? From like when I applied to when it actually airs, like that's almost a year, right? So like it aired in January. I just got re-aired.
Oh, that's true. A year's a long time.
Yeah.
A brand can die in that time where it takes a year to go live.
Yeah, so I think it's a once in a lifetime experience to be on Shark Tank, and honestly, it wasn't my original inspiration to be on the show. Another founder friend of mine was like, "You should apply to Shark Tank," and I was like, "Her name is Mabel. She's from Luna Magic, another Latina founder."
Her.
Yeah. And I was, because she was on Shark Tank. She was like, "You should apply to be on Shark Tank."
So many people, I feel like now. So many beauty brands.
It's true.
Like Euphoria, Christina from 54.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, did you really need investment, or did you need content to monetize ads against?
So, I mean, also not a bad idea.
No disrespect. Everyone I know said it's some of their best performing ads.
I've had people tell me that we should go on Shark Tank, and I'm like, but I don't know if I want a deal. Like those deals don't seem, I don't know.
Yeah. So I was in a radically different place as a founder and as a business when I applied.
Right.
And then, by the time I actually was filming, I was now in the middle of a fundraise. Like lots of things had changed, you know. So there's a couple things about Shark Tank. Number one, it's like a part-time job, right? Like you there's so much preparation. Like everything has to be vetted. My earrings, my tattoos. I take pictures of everything. Like the speech, everything is like rehearsed. There's lots of you meet with producers like every other week.
Oh, so it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And then you have to build your own display, like, and of course it has to get approved. So like that's coming out of your pocket,
right?
Oh.
And then it's a lot of like hurry up and wait. Then you're like there, and then it's like you're in your green room. You don't know what time it is, and then you're actually in the tank, and it's dead quiet. And that's something that no one. Is it intimidating? Well, it's like. Right now it's that we're in New York, but I was like, it's like this.
Where you? Sandra's used to this ambient noise at all times because she lives in New York.
Well, because when you see the show, it's like all cut up and it's like dramatic and it's like
feels
fast editing.
True. It's like violins and stuff going.
It's not fast in real life, and so everyone has to like overact to give that kind of energy. Like they interrupt each other on purpose because like it has to come across like fiery.
It must be long days for them too.
It's super long. Like
also,
they're like falling asleep.
It's an entertainment show first.
Yeah. It is 100% a television show, number one, and they're very clear about that. And so that's why Tom, like, they were like, don't say yes if you don't really mean yes, because if you say yes and then we hear that you're like yanking Mark Cuban's chain in diligence, we won't air your episode. I was like, okay. So then in that case, I'm just gonna go in and be ready for it to go in either direction, you know. So I had like my thoughts prepared, like what happens if they say yes, what happens if they say no.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for both. You have no idea. I mean, Fiona from Euphoria went on, she got a single digit equity deal. Normally they hate single equity digit, right? They don't like anything below 10%.
They're sharks, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to sort of be blood in the water.
Yeah. So, but obviously, when people are like, you went on there for the exposure. I'm like, everybody goes on there for the exposure. Are you calling me out because that's a compliment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then what happened?
And then I made the $300,000 in the 2 weeks after that in sales, which is what they would have given. They wanted 30% equity
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, so take us through what happened with the sharks, and then what happened immediately after.
On your own.com?
Yeah. Well, it was on our website and Amazon together. The combination. Yeah.
And presumably that's a lot more than you were normally doing.
Totally. Yeah. It was like 500% growth. We prepared. Yeah, we prepared because I was like, I'm just going to go on there and make a good television show. Doesn't matter if I say yes or no. Like that's
totally.
Like all they want is good television.
How do you forecast for something like that though?
When you I asked all the other founders Amazon right beforehand to prep, right?
Yes, because luckily there's a lot of beauty founders now who have been on there. And I was like, okay, how many orders did you get?
So important to have resources.
Yeah, how many orders did you get? And everyone was like, prepare to have 3,000 of everything.
Okay,
that's kind of the median, right? Like 3,000 orders. And then our warehouse called and they were like, Oh, no. You're going to get like double that, because we had a baby brand who was on there, like they sold baby clothes, and they got 7,000 orders. And so I was like, okay, let's prepare for the best scenario.
Yeah.
So we doubled our POs, like, but it's scary because it's like the cash flow output. Like you have to buy that inventory in advance, and then you're like, you still don't know if it's going to air. And Shark Tank is like,
you don't know if it's going to air, even if you film, they don't know?
Not everyone airs. So can you imagine like going through like 9 months of preparation?
Yeah.
You're in the tank, you go through all that anxiety, and then your episode still does not air. So a lot of people's episodes don't air. It's like airplane.
What percentage?
I don't know, but it's like too much. Whatever it is, it's, I just, my heart breaks for those people, so, and then they give you 3 weeks notice. So like you have, like, to the inventory question, Amy, like you have, it just takes more than 3 weeks to get inventory made.
Yeah.
So
it takes me a lot more.
Yeah, me too. Like especially like now with COVID and whatever. Yeah. So you have to like hope for the best and like put out that cash flow to like get that inventory, have it in your warehouse like ready to go, in hopes that you get the email that your episode airs, and then you get an email 3 weeks in advance. And then I was like, okay. Then it was like pre-mortem. Now we're doing like pre-mortem meetings at Nopalera, so that everyone is prepared going into anything
before you die.
Yeah. Instead of just like post-mortem, like how did the launch go? Like the pre-mortem meeting, and yeah, the team like killed it. Like we had everything ready to go.
The cocktail party, the live Instagram live cocktail party.
Yeah, and so we had the inventory, we had the assets, we had like everyone was like we kicked all the tires on the the SMS apps and like had everything on the website ready to go, and then it just went smoothly, and we got 6,000 orders.
Damn.
Yeah, and then there's like it continues, right? Like.
Right, it re-aired.
And then it re-aired 2 months later, which is unheard of.
Do they even tell you that it's re-airing?
They gave me 1 day notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Love that.
They're like, and they're always like, please respond within 24 hours, and I'm like, okay.
Because do they need your approval?
I don't know why they need me to respond.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You're probably doing it anyway. You probably signed to the agreement.
Yeah. But so in the tank, I got 2 offers.
Right.
One from Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful.
Hey.
And then Daniel Lubetzky came in to try to save me from Kevin O'Leary's Sharky deal. And both of them wanted, Kevin was like 30% of your company for $300,000. And then Daniel Lubetzky was like, well, I need 25% of your company, and I'll give you the $300,000. And I was like, thank you to both of you. However, no, because this is a brand about self-worth. And can you, like, I would just not be staying true to the brand values if I was just undercutting myself and underselling my brand. Yeah. So my ancestors are whispering in my ear. They're telling me to not devalue myself. So thank you, but goodbye.
Yeah.
And that was a viral moment for us because it just galvanized the community. Like, yes, thank God you said no. Like, everyone wants to like stand in their worth. Every woman can relate to like being underpaid and being undervalued, and so it really was a moment for the community to like rally around that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. All right, so on the topic of demystification, Amy, you have some of the only products, I think the only products that follow the eczema board guidelines. And so I sort of want to talk about formulation and demystify that for people, because at least from where I'm sitting, it's something I know like next to zero about. And so like, ingredient sourcing and how you're testing all this stuff, and like, I don't know, for people who want to start a company, right, all that stuff seems so inaccessible. So I'd love for you to sort of break it down and the process that goes into it.
Yeah, so I think by the way, to clarify, the National Eczema Association was actually something I was following as a consumer to understand, like, I don't know, what kind of soap to buy and what kind of detergent to use and those types of things. We're the only beauty brand that 100% complies. So if you look at like Aveeno uses them, a lot of the brands you see in the drugstore that use it for like, but most brands use it for one product in their whole line. And so they'll do like one eczema friendly product out of like 200. For us, we adhere to it for every single product that we make. So that's just a point of clarification.
Totally.
In terms of, if your question is how do you get products made, I think it's really dependent for every brand, depending on what your value proposition is and what your unique selling proposition is. For us, my product philosophy is very much clean, safe for sensitive skin, and performance. And so when I think about that, we follow, I truly believe that I am not an expert in terms of, I'm not a chemist, I'm not a doctor or dermatologist, and so I really rely heavily on third-party credibility. So we are clean at Sephora, we're clean at Credo, we're clean at Goop, and so we're taking their no-no list, because they're spending a lot of time and effort to figure out like what that means. And this is a really murky time for clean, because as you know, like what does clean mean?
Right.
Right, there is no governing body. The industry is incredibly unregulated. And so I'm trying to make sure that we're not out there making promises that we don't have enough information around. To me, the idea of clean is like, if it feels like an insurance policy to me. So it's like, if I can make products in a way that I can avoid ingredients that might harm you, then why wouldn't I do that? Especially if I can do it without sacrificing performance and anything else. So then the second layer I add to that is we do adhere by the National Eczema Association's no-no list, which is a totally different list, has nothing to do with clean, it's just about irritation. And then third party, we do a lot of testing. So then we start with a no-no list. We're like, we won't use, we won't use, we won't use.
Right.
Then we go into it and we formulate. And we're like, okay, but we have to achieve these performance attributes. Then I get to the point where we like it, and then we test it. So testing actually in the beauty industry is really unregulated because you don't have to do it, right? The FDA isn't going to come after you unless somebody calls it out or something like that.
And one thing is that because it's cosmetic, but cosmetics also like go into your bloodstream, right? Like,
I mean, your skin's your body's biggest organ. What you put on your skin does go into your bloodstream. It's just today, it's very much a self-regulated industry. And so there is danger, there is liability. There's actually, do you know what MOCRA is? MOCRA is a new, things are changing, and I think it's a good thing. Beauty Counter did a great job of kind of alerting, I think, not only the consumer, but the government of kind of how hard it is for consumers when these things aren't regulated. I think there are obviously Sephora, Credo, they're all doing a good job as retailers too to kind of help regulate these industries too. But we do a lot more testing than the average beauty brand does. So for instance, we do stability, compatibility, which are most people I think try to do those. But on top of that, we do like irritation patch testing on humans. We do, to get the NEA seal, you actually have to third party do irritation patch testing on humans to make sure that not only like on a human you're showing over, it's like they put it on every single day over a period of 30 days, and then it's not them feeling like it's not irritated, it's a dermatologist reviewing their skin.
Interesting, okay.
And saying it's not irritated. And
Sounds
then
like those allergy shots you go, but like for 30 days straight.
Yeah, but there's somebody like actually looking at it and saying like, oh, your skin's not irritated.
And do you need people predisposed to like
so we actually
do
yes, so we actually have to, we go one step further, we have to recruit people who deem themselves people with sensitive skin.
Totally.
So it's difficult. And then we submit to the National Eczema Association along with the ingredients, along with the testing, and depending on the product, for instance, when we did our SPF product, we also had to do phototoxicity testing, which I was like, what is phototoxicity? And it's essentially like when the sun hits this product, it doesn't, even if the product alone isn't going to create irritation, when the sun hits it, does it then, the combination of it create irritation?
Damn, so involved.
So we have to do all of this testing, not
By
just...
the way, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
It's expensive.
And it's like anything
Did you see this too?
Yes, not as much because we're not in the eczema world, but yes.
Damn, there's so much more.
It's just
that
a very
goes
much
into it.
part of our ethos.
Right.
And then claims testing, right? So if you see us say something like for anything around our eyes, like our mascara, we're doing ophthalmologist testing. We're doing like a lot of those types of things. But it's a lot of, it's a longer process. So it takes us 12 to 18 months to launch a product.
Have you gotten, and it's obviously it's not something we talked about, have you ever gotten support from the National Eczema Association? You'd think they'd be all over.
We pay them.
You pay them?
Well, we pay them for the seal, to use the
Oh,
seal.
okay.
But they are great partners.
Yeah,
I think we've done a great job of really trying to promote them as an organization.
Right.
I will say about them, like there's actually a lot of programs and seals out there that are, you just sign a contract saying that you adhere.
Right.
Which maybe you do, maybe you don't, but the truth is they're not checking. The National Eczema Association is legitimate. They have a very serious process, and they're not, like, I've tried to be like, well, can you speed this up if I give you more money? Because I just need it faster. Can you push it through your doctors? And they're like, no, this is our process. We're going to do it really slowly. We're going to, So I have to say I really respect it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you have a compliance person internally? Because it's also so much work.
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually do it third party.
Oh, okay.
But it's hard.
It's just a lot of paperwork.
It's a lot of
there's
paperwork.
just so many, like all of those, accreditations and approvals.
Well, and it's all
what are you left with in
changing.
terms of ingredients when you've gone through like 17 different things, you know?
You know, and I actually try to be really careful around this. I don't know how you feel, Sandra, but like the clean thing is like we definitely want to make sure that we have like the right preservative systems, that the product really works. Like all of that, I think has been hard for the clean industry recently.
Totally.
But I think the other thing that comes up now is sustainability is really important too. So we've also made this huge effort. We have what we call our sensitive program, or pledge, I should say, and that 50% to 100% of every single product is made with recycled plastic now, in terms of the packaging.
Oh wow, okay.
Which has been a huge push for us, and even like our boxes we make out of FSC, which is the Forestry Stewardship Council, to make sure that it's sustainable. And then I think the next thing that we're really going to start seeing in the industry is that a lot of the I love it.
I need some too. I need a refresh. I need a refresh. Thank you.
But I think the next thing that we're going to see in terms of ingredients is that there's going to be more attention placed on not just the packaging, but on the ingredients, making sure that those are sustainably sourced too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, can we get that zoom in on slow-mo in post-production?
I don't have hair to shake. So nice.
I love it. Well, I mean, I'm going to feel left out if I don't.
Okay, so it's all so fascinating. I mean, there's clearly so much more involved than I think I even knew, and I thought it was complicated to begin with. But let's get to another complicated topic and talk about fundraising. So, Sandra, you just raised $2.7 million from led by Latitude Ventures, right?
Yes.
And so I want to talk about a few different things. One, how that's come together, and also what that comes with in terms of the high expectations for growth and the need to like really get out there and play offense, and how that's been an evolution for how you've traditionally built the business, because now you're playing almost in a completely different arena than you were in the early days.
Yeah, it's not me with my Amex making the products in my Brooklyn kitchen anymore. Thank God, Thank God. So the thing with fundraising, I also, like Amy was saying earlier, like I had no idea how to fundraise. I was like, what is a term sheet? What does this mean? What does that mean? One of the many accelerators I was in, or cohorts, was a True Beauty Ventures mentorship program with Rich and Christina, who I know you know, who are fantastic people. I still remain in a Slack channel with them to this day, and I use them as mentors because I still have questions, you know?
I mean, I do too.
Yeah, even though I've raised and I have investors, like I still lean on True Beauty Ventures like for questions about just how it works. But I think one of my biggest learnings, honestly, was that money begets money. Once you have money, people want to give you more money, which is also why life is unfair, right? It's like why celebrities get things for free. It's like they don't need things for free. They have money to pay for, but people want to give them stuff for free. And so really experiencing that firsthand was really fascinating to me. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually getting to experience this, because in the beginning, there was when you have no lead investor.
Well, there's also such a herd mentality around these things,
so
which
true.
is why it's so
People are
helpful
sheep.
to get that lead investor makes such a difference, because it's like someone has been like first money in and been like, I can do it, and then everybody else is like, wait, I'll do it.
Yeah, they're like, wait, is it too late?
If I could go back in time, I almost regret focusing on anything except the lead, because the second you get the lead, everything's done like that day.
Yeah, I had to say no to people at the end who were texting me like, is it too late? I'm like, yes, it is too late. I need to close this around and move on with my life.
And I think to be in a position where you're not like, I feel like when I was raising, I was like I wanted it so badly that I was like, I'll take money. I felt like it was a one-way conversation, like whoever wanted to give me money. And now, and gratefully, like I raised from great people, but I think I see a lot of founders who are like getting in bed with the wrong people, and then they're mad that those people on their cap table. And it's like you're choosing them as much as they're choosing you. It should be more about that than just the check.
Yes, and that is my advice always to founders who are like, what should I be looking for? I'm like, what else are they giving you besides the money? Because it can't just be the money. Do they have resources? Do they have connections? Do they have relationships? Do they have... Those are the things that you want from your investors too, right? Because once you raise money and they're on your cap table, like you're married to them.
Right.
Well, and you, like for me, I don't have, not that my investors are not helpful, but a lot of them are just like my friends from past life and things like that. But it makes me motivated because I feel like, oh, I'm making money for people who like really believed in me and really care about me, as opposed to like being like sharky investors or something.
Totally.
And talk to us about Latitude. What's their MO?
I mean, fortunately, we live in this moment in history where now we have venture funds comprised of Latino venture capitalists who want to fund other Latino founders. Like, we live in a new era. This was not possible 10 years ago. You know,
And it was
like not even 5 years ago.
99% white male,
Yeah.
like just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still, I think, a huge issue.
I mean, the
but
numbers of like the percentage of women, what is it, like 1% or something of women have been able to raise, and then within that, women of color is like.
Oh, I know. I can't believe I'm in the top 2% now of Latinas that have raised over, $1 million. You know,
it's like you and Eva.
I know.
Maud.
I know.
she's on tomorrow.
Oh, Eva used to
her.
work for me at
I
Josie
did
Mary.
not. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to ask
Tell
her
her I
about
said
that.
hi. She's
Tell her I
will.
said hi too.
Yeah.
She just signed up to be a mentor for Clean Beauty Summer School.
Yes.
Here we go.
I wanted her to be my mentor, and I was like, damn it. Okay, no, Michelle's cool.
She's Sephora too. I mean, that's like right
They
now.
Just
Yes.
launched
Yeah.
Sephora
Yes.
store.
But yeah,
Yes.
so Latitude, tell us about that story, how that came together.
I think it was, I was also like trying to, who has money? How do I even meet people with money?
Right.
Because again, it's like when you're on the outside, I was like, it's like, how do I even, who are the venture capitalists? Who are these people? How do they have money? I mean, it was just so fascinating to me. But again, once you meet one venture capitalist, you meet three, because they all, people with money know other people with money, just like people without money know other people without money, like me. You know what I mean? I know a lot of poor musicians, you know, and venture capitalists know a lot of other venture capitalists. So, once I met, I was just like looking and looking and looking, and then actually it was my publicist, who's also Latina, and I was like, Karina, do you know anyone? I'm like, I'm in the trenches right now. I'm like taking meetings with anybody that will take meetings with me. And she's like, oh, why don't you call Latitude Ventures? They invested in Kayla Agua Bonita, another Latina founder.
Hey, Kayla, shout out.
Shout out to Kayla. And yeah, so that's how I got connected, was that. And so I like looked them up. I didn't even have to, I was too impatient to wait for them to introduce me. So I just went to their website. I applied on their website and I got an email. So we had a meeting, and these conversations of the courtship take forever. You know? And then of course all the rich people go on vacation in the summer, and I was like, in the summer is like when I needed the money.
That's what I've heard.
But I was, you just have to like build off of the momentum. So I was talking to Unilever Ventures, I was talking to, anybody, right? Like big firms, and then Latitude finally was just like, okay, we want you to stop talking to other people. We want to lead the round, so like, let's do this. I was like, okay. When I see the money, then I will start talking to other people.
It's like dating.
Really.
You're like, are we getting married? I don't know.
But they, so they came, once they decided they wanted to be the lead, then the rest, the angels fell into place.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, then there were like 6 angels.
Cool. So we just talked about Eva and Maud and Sephora. So Amy, I want to talk about Tower28's expansion to Sephora.
Yay!
You have
I feel famous when I see Amy. I
know. I'm like,
know her. And I'm wearing Tower 28 on my face.
I walk in like, do you need help? I'm like, no. I'm like literally just checking out my friends.
But and I'm like, this is the one I use. It's called Brian.
Solo brand end cap. I think that's so awesome. So I think let's start early days, the getting into Sephora story, and then sort of how it's progressed, and also just like, the process of this end cap. I saw the viral video of you releasing it with your children. I mean, oh my God, that was so touching.
I teared up.
It was actually it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But
it was a real moment.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I didn't know that.
That's probably why it went viral, the authenticity of it.
So to recap, so we actually posted this on TikTok recently, and in 2 days, it's at 1.1 million views organically. Like, we didn't boost it.
The kids get in the business. You got the father in the business now. The kids.
That's it. Family
putting
business.
them to work, baby.
But yeah, so that was a real moment. So we launched into. We've been at Sephora for 4 years. No, 3.5. We've been at Sephora for about 3.5 years. We've been in store for 3.
Okay.
And but on a multi-branded end cap. So we've had half a shelf, then 1 shelf, then 2 shelves. This spring we went into 88 stores around the country, top markets, with our own branded end cap, which is a really exciting moment, but it's kind of like going from, I'd like to say it's almost like going from living with roommates and then moving into your own apartment. Which it's like great, but then you have to clean your apartment. You've got to pay the rent. Rent is probably the wrong word, but you have to pay to like build it.
Right.
And maintain it essentially. So it's a big deal. I think the thing that people actually don't know is we actually passed on getting an end cap earlier. And I think we're one of the only people that have done that. So we went from half a shelf to 1 shelf, and they were like, do you want to go into your own end cap? And I was like, nope, I don't, not yet.
And do they, how does that process work? They ask you, or do you have to like, people with your job, is there like people jockeying for this?
I think it depends on both, right? So sometimes I think people are asking for more space.
Right.
Like I would say people who want to grow faster and bigger, the way that they measure success is based on productivity. So if you think about it, it's like on a dollar per square foot basis, and then it's on a relative. So first it's dollar per square foot, and then it's an index relative to the other brands. So if I am, like, whatever my subset is, if I'm able to perform as well as them, because they're trying to figure out, like, if I give you the space, how much money can you move versus I give it to, like, everybody else, right, how you're doing. And the other part of it is in the multi-branded end cap, they pay to create the shelf and the graphic strip, and they're basically paying for it. Versus now I'm in my own thing and I have to pay for it. So the expenses are much, much higher.
Right.
So I think, you know, just for anyone listening out there, I think there is a part of it where I feel like one of the things I've done, and the reason why I didn't have to raise again and earlier, was because I was able to take that space and be really productive in it.
Right.
And like almost be like bursting before going into this space, and now I'm able to go into this space and do well in that as well. But I think it's really hard to make that balance, because as business owners, all of us, you're trying to figure out, like we were talking about earlier, like when do you overinvest and try to take that leap versus when do you just like act like you're like broke, if you will, and like try to like make what you're scrap and you're just like, I just want to kill it in this one way first and then move on. It takes a lot of discipline to do that, I think. But in this particular instance, I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And is there like, obviously you're supporting it in a lot of different ways, but do they try to like tie anything to like, hey, you're graduating, like, you know, like you need to support this in XYZ way?
I actually have found Sephora to be an incredible partner for us.
And you guys are exclusive there?
We're exclusive, meaning we're at Sephora, but we have a carve out so we can do things like Credo and Goop and Revolve. We just can't go to like, I don't know, like an Ulta or something like that. But I always joke with my merchant that I'm a commitment kind of girl. I've been with my husband for 20, you know, like we've been together for a long time. And I feel like one thing I learned in my career was like, if I can just focus on something and I can do it really well, it takes as much effort to do that than it does like, you know, if you do a bunch of little things, it takes
like
up
half-assed
so much work. Right. So if I can just make this work really well, it's great. But I would say Sephora definitely like expects us to support the business, but they don't necessarily tell us how to do it. So they just want us to obviously do well and make sure that we're kind of earning that space. And
they probably trust you at that point, right? Like you said, it is sort of like dating where, you know, they know it's a big moment. They know you as an operator and how you plan to, you're probably going to find something better than probably what they would have dreamed up, right? Because you're this scrappy.
Yes,
like,
and I think if we weren't doing well, maybe they would be like, okay, do this.
Right,
I don't really know, but there is a playbook for sure, and there's certain things we haven't totally turned on yet, right? So for instance, my kind of competitive subset has probably like 20 people in the field working and standing inside the store selling products. We have one person on our team right now, and then in addition to that we do Headcount, which is one of the sponsors, which it's like a third-party version of it. So we're kind of tiptoeing into it and figuring out some of these things. But yes, you do have to support it. I'm on my 28-day store tour right now because we're going in and gratising people and training, and you know, it obviously means something, I think, and it means something to me too, to go into these stores and have them really hear my story directly, and know that put a face to the name and understand and be able to like thank them for helping us really bring our products to life to the consumer.
I think the in-person stuff is
something
that people like new founders don't really understand, like how analog it is. Like you have to physically show up to a brick and mortar store and tell your story over and over and over again.
Like Noah from Ruby was on yesterday. I mean, it's demos every single week, and every single person on his team does it every week.
Exactly. Like I learned that from CPG, right?
You learn
it's just
so
like
much.
It's so analog. Well, it's not like you get into the store and then the magic just happens.
And it's also not a one-way relationship, right? Because part of it is, yes, I'm downloading, but at the same time, I'm like, tell me what's happening in the store.
That's where you get all the good intel.
Because I'm like, do people actually understand, like in a very literal way, now that we have like an actual end cap? It's like, okay, well, can you even see the packaging? Like, is it hard to figure out your shade? Is it, you know? So
top 3 sort of brand intersection questions, things that I sort of, as I was preparing, thinking you guys would either have sort of one question that you could both answer, and you might have different takes, you might have similar takes on it, but I think it'd be interesting to hear your perspectives. Looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But Sandra, I want your perspective, and then I'll get Amy's, obviously, as the creator of it. But I want to talk about Tower28's Clean Beauty School, and what that experience was like going through that program. And obviously, you've been part of other accelerators, so talking about the uniqueness of it in the context of building your business.
I think hearing from other founders who are 5 steps ahead of you is like the most valuable thing that any founder could ever ask for. So I think I said that earlier, like just that's what makes, you know, Clean Beauty Summer School so unique compared to other accelerators, is that it's other founders. It's founders leading founders. And what a beautiful thing, you know?
Right.
Because I feel like we're in this moment of generosity right now.
Yeah,
you know, to your point we were talking earlier, like it used to be so hard, like how do I climb the castle wall? And people like Amy are creating these like spaces where we get to commune with each other and really learn and just accelerate, right? So instead of it taking me 10 years to find out these answers, I can learn in a day.
Totally.
Shorten the learning curve, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I genuinely believe in collaboration over competition. I remember when I was working at L'Oreal back in the day, like even within the brands, if you were going in the elevator, you had to put like a sheet over the product when you were going up and down the elevator because you couldn't see what you were doing. And it was very much like you never share things. And I don't know, I sort of believe that it's all about execution.
Totally.
Like ideas are kind of a dime
Look
a
at all the
dozen.
building
Oh my
public.
God.
There's so many people on this show that are building public people, and like the benefits of it, I think, really outweigh the detriments.
Yeah.
Totally. Like I look at food, I look at a lot of other industries. I look within our own industry. Like I learned about Agile because another beauty founder was doing it.
Alameda, love
Alameda.
you.
Shout out to Alameda.
Shout out.
And I also found out about, because I found out from Alameda from Clean Beauty Summer School.
Yeah.
And we had a founder-made truck in our origin
I know.
story.
I know.
We got our Tower28 one.
I might need more than one of these because I have 2 children here.
Amy needs 3 trucks.
and a team.
I know. Oh yeah.
Over 7,000 customers like Pet Lab, Chamberlain Coffee, Hero Cosmetics, Spikeball, Dossier, TB12, Pit Viper, 100 Thieves. Tens of millions of packages shipped every year. 50 plus fulfillment centers across the US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Australia. An app store with 50 plus integrations like Shopify, Amazon, NetSuite, and many more. Managed inventory distribution, D2C and B2B fulfillment capabilities, 99.96% of order shipping on time, 99.95% order accuracy rate. Yep, we're talking about ShipHop again. We know picking a fulfillment partner or 3PL is not easy. And equally importantly, we know you never want to have to move or pick another one. That's why we partnered with ShipHop. From 0 to 100 million in sales, ShipHop has you covered.
But yeah, so Amy, could you tell us about the origin story, like the genesis of the Clean Beauty School?
Yeah.
How to get started? What was the motivation for starting it? What were, how does that sort of all come together in the end?
Yeah, well, so I guess I'll take you back to 2019 when really that was back when the kind of Black Lives Matter hit a fever pitch, right? And I think everybody was like posting a black square, and I was kind of like, people were like, don't be performative. And I was like, I don't want to be performative, but I don't know what else I can do, right? And I think that's the hardest thing is when you feel like you want to make a difference, but you don't know how to, it's very disempowering. And I think in my life, I've also been never an influencer. I've never had a platform of any influence. But I have been a worker bee for a long time. And because of that, I actually do have pretty deep connections in the beauty industry. So one day I got an email, true story, to our Hey at Tower28 Beauty. And I was the one checking it at the time. And it said, I don't know if you're going to be giving out money, because Glossier had given out grants.
Right.
And they were like, if you're giving out money, can I be a recipient of the grant? And it was from a BIPOC beauty founder. And I wrote her back and I was like, ironically, I just applied for a loan. So I'm not in a position to give anyone any grants. However, I would love to get on a call with you and see if there's anything I can do to help you. And I think I talked to her for maybe 45 minutes. And afterwards, she wrote me the nicest email saying how much it meant to her and how helpful it was. And I just thought, well, what can I do to scale this? And I literally thought of Clean Beauty Summer School. I texted a bunch of friends and I was like, would you do this with me? And then all of a sudden it was, COVID. And so we were kind of in a different world anyway. And so I was like, okay, well, what if it was virtual and we did this? And basically that's what it was. All these friends of mine said, yes, absolutely, we would do it. And then I asked Sephora if they would, help out by being part of the judging.
Right.
And then somebody else said, okay, well, I think I can get New Voices to give $10,000.
Right.
And it just was this, in the best way, it was this avalanche of ideas that kind of came in. And actually, I don't even think I've told you yet, but this year we're even taking it a step further. So we actually opened up applications in April. I'm friends with Katie Kitchens, who's the founder of FabFitFun. And so one thing we're doing this year is we're curating a box of Clean Beauty Summer School products. So it could be anyone. It could be you. It could be people who've been in the program previously, mentors, teachers. But they're curating a box, like a 5,000-piece box.
Wow.
And so the winner of Clean Beauty Summer School this year will get not only the suite of prizes that they've had in the past, but in addition to that, a 5,000-piece PO.
Whoa.
Which is
Oh my
like
God,
pretty
that's
incredible,
huge.
right? To get scale, whether you're just trying to do
Beautiful.
it so you can get like, economies of scale or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just so incredible to me that like there's so much embedded in this. Like there's reciprocity, but there's also like you're not even that far along at this point, and yet you've created a platform for people to like pay some of the help you've got forward in such a meaningful way. And Nopalera was the third year of, what, it's been 4 seasons so far?
Yeah.
This will be the fourth year.
This will be the fourth year.
And I just want to shout out to, like, it's about the network. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like I met New Voices. Now I'm in the New Voices family because
Yeah.
of Amy, because I won the grant and they were the people who provided the money for that, right? Now I'm in the New Voices family. So now I get to ask them, hey, I'm looking for a new soap manufacturer. Like, I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
And they help me with, it's like it just continues to grow. It's like tree roots. You know what I mean?
And I think we're
It's
all
about the network.
And I think it's like they're not competitive too, right?
Right.
There's no version of this where like I get a lot out of it personally, but like there's no, in the very beginning I had people say like, oh, I'll be part of the program if I can get equity in the winner's company. I was like, no, this is not what we're doing. Like I have no skin in the game in that sense,
Right.
nor do I ever want to. It's really just with best of intentions.
Yeah.
But there's also so many other amazing accelerator programs that I'm lucky enough to even just be a part of. So I'm part of the Sephora Accelerate program. I teach and I mentor there. I'm part of the Credo one. I mean, I just think there's so much of this in the industry that I think is really positive.
Yeah, and how proud of you of your recent
I mean, look at this and look at us now.
I know,
It's
here
so
we are.
fun.
It's so crazy.
It's the best part of being in the beauty industry to me is like I've kind of grown up in this industry.
Right.
And so then I get to, like you said, I walk into Sephora, I walk into Credo, and I'm like, these are my friends.
It's literally just the group.
Yeah, and I like am so happy for other people when I see them like crushing it.
Totally. I ain't rich till my whole team rich. That's the quote.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about being a performer. And so when I was in business school, I had a Professor Bunch, that
Where did you go to business school?
Chicago.
Yeah.
And he talked about like being a performer as one of the most important traits of entrepreneurship.
Oh, interesting.
And so yeah, it was the first time I had heard it too. And I've never really felt that way, but I do, like the more I think about it, the more I think he's right, where it's confidence on stage. It's being quick on your feet when things go wrong. And so, Sandra, you're a literal performer. And
As I apply blush.
Yeah.
Amy's lip gloss is blush.
But actually, you were a musician on stages for many, many years. And
Yeah.
then obviously look at things like Shark Tank and just handling yourself with confidence
Yeah.
and
You
finesse.
probably have
is-
no like anxiety.
I mean, I
around.
do, but I just recognize what it is, and I know that I can. Once I get the first line of the song right, it's fine.
Right, yeah. And then Amy, I mean, you, while maybe not as obvious or explicit, you do have it, you clearly have it, because you can see how, you were going about your early career and breaking into these places and sort of this performance of like, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to do some creative stuff to like really have them take me seriously. And then obviously there's that bit about the popsicles and the Sephora and all that stuff. So I'd love to just sort of try to thread the needle between the importance of being a performer, whatever that means to you, and its value in the context of entrepreneurship.
It's really interesting that you think that about me as being a good performer, because I think it's something that I've really struggled with. Oh, sorry. Again, not on my stomach. No, it's something I've really struggled with. I think I was a very good number two. Like I wrote all of the speeches for Katie and for Josie when I worked for them, Kate Somerville and Josie Marin when I worked for them. I was really good at being behind the scenes and kind of propping up somebody else. And I think one of the things that was the most difficult for me was kind of coming into this on my own and making it about me. I don't actually tell this story very much, but I kind of launched Tower28 twice almost in some sense. Like, meaning that when I was pitching it, it really was a completely different thing. It wasn't about my story at all. And the original concept was really just about, like, it didn't have to do with sensitive skin, even though I was formulating that way.
Right.
Because I wanted it. It was more like, it was just not about me.
Right.
And I think I found it hard to put myself in it because I just didn't think anyone would care, and probably in a different way even, because the brand is kind of beachy in origin and the way that it looks visually. And I really thought that people would think it was a really big disconnect from if they saw my face, mostly because I'm Asian. I've grown up my parents were immigrants from Taiwan. I was born in America. I was raised predominantly in Southern California. I live on the west side. I live, near the beach. My husband's a surfer. But I don't know that we look like that in the traditional way. Like, I don't have blonde hair and, blue eyes and those types of things. So it is interesting because I do think your point is right. I think the performance aspect of it, meaning for me, it's like the ability to sell your vision and your story and your products is incredibly important as an entrepreneur. But it's not something... It was easy for me as soon as I understood why I was doing it and what the story was, and because it's true.
Right.
But I'm not a natural performer in a bigger way. I like this, though. I like podcasts. But you almost never see me doing a Get Ready with me.
Ready, Sandra.
I'm like, is this on? Because I'm like, yes, I will leave the stage.
Amy Noodles truck.
Oh, shout out to
Kevin.
I have been a performer since I was a child. So my parents forced me to take piano, so I've been doing piano recitals, but I was always nervous, but I just kept going. And I honestly think that the greatest gift of being a performer is that it strengthened my rejection and resilience muscle. Because anyone that's a performer hears more no's than yeses.
Yeah.
I was my own tour manager for many years. So how many emails did I write? Like, do you have a date? I want to come on play in your club. Like, ignore, no. And then you get like one yes, and you build a whole like tour around that. So honestly, it's the resilience of performing, that even if you don't feel great, like you still have to go give a show, I think that is the thing that I really gained from being a performer.
Yeah.
And raising money, it's all this performance
it really
of like
is
inside you're dying.
Right.
You're like, I will take anyone.
But it is all the time. It's like you're selling. You have to sell your vision to your team. You've got to sell it to your
yeah.
Well, and then why am I doing this?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
what do I care about?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So I sort of wanted to bring it back to family. You guys both have children. I really just wanted to ask, like, how important is it to you guys that, they see you guys building your businesses? I think it's so unique and so special. It's definitely not easy, but I think there's so much value there, and there's so many good lessons being imparted, and they're probably so inspired by what you guys are doing. So you talk about building in front of your children.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think you definitely have to see it to be it in so many different ways. And I think I have 3 kids. I have 2 daughters and 1 son. I think most times people think I'm talking about my daughters, which I do think it's really important for them to see the dynamics of like having, I think at some point my relationship with my husband, because I took some time off and I was consulting and he was working full time, I think it became very gendered the way our roles were, where it was like, okay, well, like dad goes to work in a very traditional way. He goes to an office and comes back, and I was consulting while they were in school, so they saw me drop them off and then they saw me pick them up. Right. And so
what'd you do all day?
Well, and then they saw me like cooking dinner and clean, so like very gendered in a traditional way. And I think it's really important for them to see not only like me doing this, but just like trying and doing something for myself and having an identity that is outside of just being like a mom and a wife, which are very important roles. But this was something I wanted for me too. For my son, I think of it as like, I don't know, this is how I want him to see women too. Like that women can do these things just as much, I think, as I think that for, my daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, I know now that I'm older, I'm 46 years old, that everything, who I am has so much to do with how I saw my mom being just herself. You know? It's not even about what you do for a living, it's like how you exist in the world. And she is just a go-getter, and so I am a go-getter, and that was modeled to me, but you don't really understand that until you're older, right? So I don't think that my daughter right now at the age of 15 can fully, I think she thinks it's cool, like what I do. She loves the free samples.
Yeah.
She's like, can you get more SOS from Amy?
Are you with Amy today?
Yeah. She's like, you know her? She's on my For You page. I get that a lot. But she'll know when she's older. She'll look back and she'll be like, wow, my mom was a badass. But like now it's normal because however your parents are when you're growing up, it's normal. Like it was normal to me that my mother was, on television. It was normal to me that, she was like marching with people in the street. But not everyone's mom was doing that, But so I think it later is like really when the true, like when it'll really be clear to her. So I just know it's important for me to continue to model that.
Yeah. And I think, something I sort of want to talk about is I kicked off the show with this, two of the most badass female founders. It's harder than average, I think, for people to be female founders. It's the access to capital, like the white male dominated industry. And something I think even personally I think about a lot is just like allyship. And I think there more and more, I think literally every day, there's more people that want to be part of the solution. And I guess my question is, how do people be part of the solution? Like, what does that entail, and how do we sort of correct that narrative for the people that do want to be part of the solution?
It's like what Amy's doing. She's part of this. She created Clean Beauty Summer School. She's creating these networks, and like that is so valuable. Like more people like that. Share your network. Share your network. Share your knowledge. Sometimes it's more valuable than money. Yeah, it's the access.
I mean, one thing that we gratefully did in the beginning because of COVID and everything too is our program's virtual, and I think one of the real benefits of that is that you get people from like all geographies.
Right.
Where like it used to be. I mean, I think about how much harder my business would be to start if I was not in LA. Right? Like the access to like even influencers, to talent, to like just in general is much more difficult. We have, some of our biggest contract manufacturers are in LA too. So just the access is really different. Like if you live in like, I don't know, Indiana or something, I don't know, has to be a lot harder.
Right.
I think the other very simple thing that people can do is to vote with their wallets. So, I mean, I think all of us do that, but I think it's really important, right? Like, I know one of my friendly founders in the industry is Deepika, who has Live Tinted, and she says this all the time, but it's like, thank you for supporting, but also like, put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
So,
don't ask me for free samples. Go.
Well, I don't think that's what she means either, but
Yeah.
I do think there is something to like if you and I do it too, even though like even with beauty, I know a lot of these founders and they're like happy to give me things for free. I shop, I go to Sephora and I'm like, I buy because it's important to me to continue to support.
Yeah. And people, I think
I bought your products.
Oh, thank you. It's, when you're in like major retailers like Sephora or Ulta or Credo or Target, you need that sell-through data.
Yes.
So that it's not just about supporting. It's like, that's like, people don't really understand what that means. Like,
totally. I didn't know what it meant. Like, now I intentionally did. I'm like, I need some velocity. Like, let me see how I can help.
Exactly. Yeah, because the margins are tough in beauty too. I mean, coming from CPG, like when I entered into the beauty space, I was like, oh shit, what? They take a 60 margin? That's like robbery.
Yeah.
Because like grocery takes like 40, 35.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
I didn't know.
Yes, so it's high margins, so it's expensive to be in these retailers. And I think a lot of people don't understand that either, you know?
I mean, I think all of us do what we can, right? Again, like I am now in a position where I can put together a program like this, but if I didn't have that access in the beginning, I wouldn't be able to.
Totally.
But I think at a very basic level, it is write a review, write a,
God, please write it. I'm like,
write
don't
a
DM
review.
me your glowing review. Please put it on the website.
I know.
That's so true.
I know.
Okay. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple new products launching, and so can you give the audience a sneak peek into what's next for Nopalera and Tower28?
Yes. Well, as much as I would love for everyone to switch to bar products, people still love body wash and they love lotion. So we are launching a cactus shower gel and a cactus body cream. In Q4.
What's the scent?
Custom scent.
Nice.
So kind of like Nopalera 2.0, because all of our scents have been very natural up until this point, like very essential oil based, very subtle. And now some of the feedback we got from Sephora was like having like that custom scent that ties back to the brand story.
Yes.
So we created a custom scent.
Awesome.
That's exciting.
So that's the next thing.
Awesome.
Cool.
How about you?
We are expanding on our skincare line. So we currently have our SOS family of products that has our SOS daily facial spray is actually crazy. It is the #2 toner at all of Sephora.
Whoa.
Which it's funny because it's not really a toner, it's more of a treatment spray, but that's how they class it. And it's done really well, which is even more wild because it sits inside of the makeup section. So that's not where you expect to find skincare products. But expanding upon that, one of the things I really wanted to do is on a really basic level, you need to clean your skin, Tony, this is more of it's basically hypochlorous acid, so it helps to not only calm your skin, but also help keep it clean from an antibacterial perspective. And so the next thing we're doing is we're launching a moisturizer.
Wow.
And the moisturizer I'm really excited about because I've gone, as somebody who's really suffered from skincare issues, I've gone to the dermatologist and all these different places, and the number one thing everybody always says is like, do less.
Right.
Like, just step back and let your skin heal itself. And so this is what we're calling like an intentionally basic product.
Got
so
it.
it's a beautiful formula made with ceramides and hyaluronic acid, but it's not an active, so it's not about like retinol and vitamin C and all these types of things, which are great, but like I wanted something where I could bring those in on my own as opposed to like bombarding my skin with it and when my skin wasn't ready for it. So the same way that when you go to the dermatologist, sometimes they'll say like, oh, just use Cetaphil for a while.
Right.
I don't want to use Cetaphil. I want something that's a little more elevated than that, and so that's what this is.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
It's honestly,
putting that
like-
end cap to good use.
I cannot
Honestly,
wait.
can't wait to see
like
it.
I'm always looking for just like a simple cream.
It's like an
facial-
elevated
yeah.
basics. Like this is a true moisturizer, so it brings
Yeah.
water. I mean, at
Yeah.
a really basic level, a moisturizer is supposed to bring
Humectant, yeah.
hydration to your skin and then lock it in, and
Yeah.
that's what it does.
Yes, yeah.
So
Everything's so complicated now. Everything is like, peptide this and niacinamide that. I'm like, it's like, you can't find a white shirt anymore.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
just,
you know
that's what
I'm
it
saying?
is. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Literally, it's so funny you
Yeah.
said that because we were like, what do we talk about? Like it's like your basic white shirt
Yeah.
or your favorite pair of
It's like,
jeans.
why does
It's
every
like,
jeans have to have holes and like
Yeah.
stuff on it? Like, yeah.
Like sometimes just do a little bit
Yeah.
less.
For sure. Well, real quick, SOS spray break as we get into.
You're like, now that I know it does well at Sephora,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean-
just gonna.
You've converted me for sure. I feel great. Me and Justin Bieber. Best friends now.
Yeah.
I mean, Hailey Bieber did too.
He's just copying you, Tom.
Yeah, right. So, all right, so we're at our second to last stop. It's called the Hot Box, and aptly named given what's going on in here right now. But the hot boxes are sort of our rendition on the hot seat. So it's going to be a this or that style question game, like A or B. And the goal is sort of without thinking, you guys say which one you have a preference for,
At the
A
same time?
or B. So we're going to go Amy first,
Okay.
Sandra second.
Okay. I'm like, are we shouting at each other?
Are we winning?
All right.
Do we win a prize if
Yeah.
we say the same thing?
Nope. No prizes. You get out of the box. All right, so we're going to get into it. Ready?
Okay.
All right, so cold plunge or hot tub?
We sold $6 million our first year and did $80 million in sales last year. That's what the COO of Adventure Challenge, a longtime customer of ShipOb's, shared with ShipOb the other day. The pace of growth for Adventure Challenge has been insane, but it wasn't all positive. It started with a failed crowdfunding project. Then investors assured them that their business would fail. They raised $0 in outside capital. And it somehow only took a few years to hit $80 million in sales. They started off fulfilling all orders themselves. They'd have U-Hauls packed with thousands of products, making endless trips from their storage unit to the post office. It was not scalable. It was definitely hurting their growth. It definitely wasn't fun. That's when ShipOb started their partnership with Adventure Challenge. By being able to focus on growing the business and product development, sales took off like a rocket ship. While Adventure Challenge initially focused on D2C sales, their popularity started driving other conversations. They started to stock several hundred smaller boutiques across the country, then Francesca's, then Kohl's, and while they're based in California and most of their customers are in the US, the word of mouth and viral videos on TikTok and Instagram started driving demand around the world. So then they started filling orders out of Canada, and then the UK, and now Australia. From a failed Kickstarter and getting $0 in outside investment on day one to over $80 million in revenue, Adventure Challenge has defied the odds and built a global powerhouse brand alongside their partnership with ShipOb, who's there to help you completely unlock your brand's growth. Read the entire story at shipob.com/adventure-challenge.
Hot tub.
Hot tub.
Beach house or ski house?
Beach.
Beach.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Neither.
Ooh.
Sunrise
good
or
for
sunset?
You. Sunrise.
Sunset.
D2C or D2C? Letter T or number 2?
The letter
I think the first.
Wow.
D, letter T, letter C.
Okay. Neat or messy?
I aspire to be neat.
Same.
Corgi or golden retriever?
Corgi.
Corgi.
So cute.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Summer.
Tennis or golf?
Neither.
Neither.
Pineapple pizza or candy corn?
Candy corn.
Pineapple pizza.
There we go. Live music or DJ?
Who are you talking to here? Live music.
DJ.
Live in space or live underwater?
Water.
I'm a mermaid.
Fight one horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses.
Wait, what?
One more time?
Horse-sized
Fight
duck?
one horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses.
And I'm trying to win?
Yeah, you're trying to fight them.
I would say the latter.
The 1,000
Yeah.
duck-sized horses.
I don't know. That just seems
Try
more
to kick 'em
doable.
off.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
But one, it's really scary to think of a horse-sized duck.
Intimidating. Sweet snacks or salty snacks?
Salty.
Together both.
Ooh.
Wow. Call, text, or audio notes?
Text.
Audio notes.
Reading or writing?
Writing.
Writing.
Work remote or work on site?
On site. Sorry, guys.
Remote.
Do laundry or do the dishes?
I mean, dishes.
Neither.
Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or TikTok?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Dancing or people watching?
Dancing.
Dancing.
Always.
Yeah.
Cocktails or beers?
Cocktails.
Feel too hot or feel too cold?
You like which one you prefer?
Well, they both suck, but
Yeah.
the lesser of the two evils.
I guess I would rather feel too hot.
Yeah. Feel too hot.
You get one animal to protect you against a horde of zombies, gorilla or grizzly bear?
Grizzly bear?
Grizzly bear.
Give up bread for life or cheese for life?
Cheese.
I don't know. I like them both. Okay, I give up cheese.
I would have a hard time too.
Air guitar or air drums?
So cheesy, I guess.
I mean, you're a musician.
I know. I'm like, stop doing both.
I mean, drums? I don't know. Literally, I'm not the type of person to do this. But
Start early or leave late?
I would like to be someone who started early, but start early.
We're founders. We do both.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do.
Yeah.
I was like, do it.
But start early.
Just fiction or nonfiction?
I would like to be someone who reads more fiction, but realistic, I read a lot of nonfiction.
I only read business books.
Yeah. Where you want to travel next? Europe or Asia?
Asia.
Asia.
All right. Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
Oh, rich and unknown.
Yeah, it's pretty
Don't call me.
consistent. Playlists or podcasts?
Podcast.
Podcast.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Pancakes.
Speak to animals or speak 10 languages?
10 languages.
10 languages.
Speak to animals. If we could talk that dog, that would have been pretty cool.
No, I want
All
to
right,
travel
fine.
and
No.
communicate.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Telepathy or teleportation?
Both are pretty cool.
Telepathy.
Yeah, I would go.
I'm like, what are you thinking, buyer?
Trucks or billboards? And don't fuck this one up.
Don't I think the answer is trucks.
Trucks.
Receive good news first or bad news first?
Bad news.
Bad news.
All right, well, the bad news is we were at stop 5 of this show. And so, guys, I want to thank you guys for coming on. You guys are so kick-ass. And I also want to give a quick opportunity for you guys to plug yourself. So where can people buy your products? Where can they learn more about yourselves? And then we'll wrap.
Yeah, so we're at all Sephora's, US and Canada. Sephora at Kohl's, Credo, Revolve, and Goop.
Awesome.
And Nopalera is at Credo, Nordstrom, Free People, and 400 boutiques across the country. And then our website, nopalera.co.
Oh, I should have said that too. Tower28beauty.com. Jess
Yeah.
would be mad if I didn't say that.
And then when are the new products that we talked about, when are they launching for the fans?
The fall.
Fall?
June 19th for
June
us.
19th. Awesome.
And then, also our handles, right? So at Tower28beauty on both, really on TikTok and Instagram. And then my own handle is at Amy Liu, Liu _T28.
And same thing, nopalera.co on Instagram, same handle on TikTok. And I'm at official SLV personally on Instagram.
All right, guys. Well, let's go check out some of those products are sold.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's it.
Thanks for having.
Yeah.